Hello and welcome to the final module of this four-part module series of Unpacking the No Family Edition. My name is Aaliyah Hussman and I'm a permanency coordinator for Jewish Family Service of Greater Harrisburg. If you haven't watched the first three modules of this series, please pause now and go back and watch those first, and then come back here, as the purpose of module 4 is to take what you've learned from the first three modules and create concrete next steps to follow through with after this training. You'll see a transfer of learning form displayed, and I promise, I know you guys are busy and I'm not trying to create additional work or paperwork for you. But upon discussion of what would be most helpful from this training, we determined that what's going to have the highest impact of this training is not necessarily the information that we presented, but the conversations that come from it between you and your family and you and your worker. And these questions are just meant to encourage those continued conversations. The last question on the transfer of learning asks you to review the gaining comfort graphics and to choose at least one area you're willing to explore more, and to discuss with your worker what specific actions you're willing to take. I want to acknowledge that I'm only showing 3 gaining comfort graphics specifically related to gaining comfort with expanding your age range, specifically talking about teenagers, gaining comfort with sibling groups, and gaining comfort with neurodiversity. But in going to the next slide, you'll be reminded of the rainbow Heidi shared in Module 1, and that there are many more demographics that there's a need for families for. Some other demographics mentioned in Module 1 include youth who are LGBTQ, Black, Hispanic, and other minority youth, and youth with special health care or mental health needs. As emphasized in Module 1, most families find that their strengths line up with 1 or 2 of the areas discussed. So feel free to take some of the ideas presented in the graphics and modify them, or create your own action plan based on the area of need you feel matches up with your family's strengths. The first gaining comfort graphic that I'm going to show in a moment is about expanding your age range to include teens. Before I review that graphic, I have a fun quiz called Should I Adopt a Teen that I want to highlight. Credit for this quiz is from the Ampers and Families webpage. I'd like you to just take a moment and read through these to determine if the majority of the answers are yes or no. I'm going to have you pause your own video as you're going along here, and you can either write down your answers or keep track in your head and just think about where the majority is, and then unpause, and I'll go on to page 2 of the quiz. All right, so again, pause and take the time you needed to answer yes or no here, and just really consider what the majority of your answers are. The thing that I want to highlight in taking this quiz is, you may notice the quiz says the statement, "I know I will need help if I adopt a teen and I'm eager to learn." It says that 3 times throughout that, and that was not an error. That's not a mistake that we entered in. That was very purposeful, as that's really the key thing we want you to take away from taking a silly fun quiz, is that consideration of expanding your age range. We're not asking you to do this alone. So in getting to the gaining comfort with expanding your age range graphic, and we're going to attach these along with the training too, as I know it's going to show up small on your screen here. I know that not every family watching this training is going to lead the training being open to teenagers. I would love if it would be something that you would consider, but say you're a family coming into this process pretty set on, say, like ages 0 to 5. I'd love for you to take this information and modify to maybe considering if you would widen that age range a little bit. We often tell families that the logistical aspects, such as being in a totally specific age range that you won't budge on, are less important than how this specific child being presented could fit into your specific family dynamics. So say you would get a call about a 7-year-old that your strengths really line up with. Can you get to the place where you can be comfortable with at least considering if a child would fit into your family dynamic? The first action step is listed as to seek training. We encourage you to talk with your agency worker about training opportunities that they recommend specific to working with teens or in an expanded age range. One training that we would highly recommend is the core teen training, and there are free resources and videos related to this training that you can find online, and your worker can help you access those. And I have heard from many families that this is not a training that's only helpful for families considering teens, but it really can be applicable to all ages. The second action step is to connect. You can learn about your comfort level with teens by finding a teen within your own social network and making time to connect with them one-on-one. This could look like taking a friend's teen out for a manicure or inviting a friend who has teens over for dinner. By doing this, you may find that teens are a little less scary than you initially thought, and you might even have a little bit of fun. The third action step is to volunteer, which, like the last action step, will allow you to gain a comfort level and skills related to teenagers. This could look like being a mentor within a Big Brother, Big Sister program within your community, volunteering as a CASA, a court appointed special advocate, opportunities within your faith community if you're part of one, like a youth group, assisting at a local community center or within your school district with extracurriculars. The last opportunity that I listed here is to volunteer for a program such as Crisis Text Line. And I understand that you're going to be working with a wide variety of ages in that program. And it does take a time commitment. If you look at their website, you can see what's entailed in being a volunteer for that program. But I feel like it could really give you firsthand experience in working through crises and learning about mental health. The fourth action step is to consider your resources. Remember what I said before when we were taking the quiz. I know I will need help if I adopt a teen. We'd encourage you to research what's available within your community. This may include looking at services like outpatient therapy, and seeing if there's a therapist that a lot of families with teens recommend, or a therapist that's adoption competent within your community. Looking at psychiatry services, support groups, what supports look like within your local school district or high school. We'd also encourage you to talk with your worker about state college tuition support within Pennsylvania for teens. Children who have been in foster care at the age of 16, even if they were adopted thereafter, may be eligible for a tuition waiver. In addition to more formalized resources, we would encourage you to assess your informal supports or your village, and that's something we're going to talk about doing so later in this module as well. The fifth action step is to listen. We encourage you to listen to the stories of other families who have opened up their homes to teens. We listed a few of many here, and when you get the graphic, you can go ahead and click those links to listen to those stories. But additionally, I created a video one-on-one with a young adult who aged out of foster care named Laura as an extra resource to listen to a firsthand perspective of how a family could have supported her through her teen and early adult years. We're going to go ahead and listen to that clip now.
Hello, I'm here today with Laura, who's going to share about her experience within the foster care system. Laura, can you give a little background context to your story, like when and why you ended up coming into foster care?
Yeah, so I was 9 months old when I was adopted from Russia. I had adoptive parents come and get me from Russia. When you are a baby in an orphanage in Russia, you don't get the motherly bond because they were just so very understaffed. And so I didn't have that. And when I came to America, me and my adopted mother didn't get along. You know, we had our troubles. Some of it was she was just controlling and had her issues and demons she was fighting with, and some of it got lashed out. So I went into a couple psychiatric hospitals, and then I ended up going into 3 residential treatment facilities. And the third time I was in a residential treatment facility, the state took me in, and I was the child of the state, and I got put into foster care around the age of 12.
And while you were in foster care, can you share a little bit about your experience? Were you in one home? Did you move around?
So I was in numerous homes. I was probably in foster care, but for about 5 to 7 years, and I would say I was probably in about 5 homes. It was a lot of moving around and stuff, and it really impacted me today, you know.
And when we were preparing for this, you mentioned some thoughts about the importance of ways families treat youth compared to their birth children. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I played basketball, and I was in this foster home that had a biological daughter. She would do track and soccer, and they would show up for every track and soccer meet, but not once be in the stands for any of my basketball games. I would be on the bus with my coach on away games, coming home. You know, everybody else had a parent or a guardian to take them home, you know, and I didn't, and it was really hurtful, you know, but yeah.
And I think you mentioned when we were chatting how you had that experience, but the family had a birth child that they showed up for every game for, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And even I even had to go to her soccer games or track meets when basketball season wasn't in session, and she didn't come to any of mine, but it's all right.
So it definitely wasn't equal in that regard. Um,
No.
you ended up leaving foster care at the age of 18 without having an adoptive resource. Can you tell us what your life was like originally when you left foster care?
So I ended up moving in with a friend. It didn't go as planned. I probably lived there for about 3 to 6 months. And then I knew a foster family from my adopted sister. They let me live there for a little bit, probably about 2 months or so, and then they realized they weren't getting paid for me. I wasn't like in this like back into the state or whatever, so I ended up getting kicked out, and I lived in my car, which was a '98 Chevy Blazer, my first car, and it was a pretty cold winter. I lived in my car for about 2 weeks until I was like, I need help. I can't keep living in my car, and it was really tough.
Can you speak to what things you think older youth might need support with from a family specifically? Like perhaps what things could have helped you during that time?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely could have had a better caseworker. I think there was some miscommunication in there. But when it comes to more foster family, I do think that they should be more willing to help, regardless if you're 2 or you're 20. We are kids that don't know a whole lot. Maybe we didn't have enough education, or we didn't just, we had so much chaos in our lives, we didn't get a chance to really learn much from school, and just simple things as learning how to do taxes, or knowing stuff about credit card debt, and just having the support if you don't have a place to go, or a family to call, them showing their love and their affection like they would any other kid.
As a former foster youth yourself, what would you say to those families who might fear providing permanency or adopting an older youth?
I would honestly say do it. I mean, they could be on their last chance of where I may not ever get help. I don't have anybody that loves me. And they may become homeless, possible drug addict, possible, anything bad, and if they just have that one person that doesn't give up on them, it can make a difference. And I just hope, anybody that does get an older child, you give them a chance. They might be a little bit more difficult, but once they open up and they see you care, they'll be willing to listen and learn, and I think move on with their lives.
And you have an amazing story that despite the outcomes for many youth who age out of foster care without a resource, you have built a great life for yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about your life and your successes now?
Yeah, so when I was 18, and while I was still in care, we weren't allowed to have a vehicle, a car, license, all of that. So I did end up paying for my own driving lessons. I paid for my own car, and I was getting ready to pay for my own insurance until I found out we can't have any of that. So me and my foster care lawyer, we made a statement and went to court, and we successfully won that, just because we're in care shouldn't penalize us for anything we kind of want to do. When you're 16, of course you want to go out and, go run to the store to grab some candy, or, just have a little bit more freedom than when you're stuck at the house all the time and needing driven around. So there's actually a guy in Texas, and you can look the story up on the internet. He used my story, and it helped him become driving teen and foster care, and changing just not my generation, but people across the state, across the country, helping them realize that it's okay to stand up, female, male, whoever you are. If you think you deserve something, go for it. So I did that. And then I did end up getting my college degree. I got criminal justice associates. And then I started going to the state police, and I passed my written and oral exam. But I did back out due to fear of my past, possible things that could withdraw me from it. And then right now I'm just living at home. I have a boyfriend. We bought a house. I have a great dog I've been taking care of for 7 years, and life's been pretty good. I made a good life for myself, and I didn't end up with drugs or alcohol, rehab, no prison. And you can turn things around no matter how bad your story begins.
We just want to really thank Laura for being so vulnerable and sharing her story with all of you. I think some of the best insight that we can get rather than listening to us professionals talk about the subject is hearing from adult adoptees themselves. In regards to listening, other things that we would suggest aside from listening to the stories of other youth and other families, I'd encourage you, if you're new to this process and haven't looked at adoptpakids.org yet, to view the youth who are actually available for adoption. You'll see that the high majority of youth waiting for adoption are older than 10 years old. The sixth action step is to seek mentorship. In addition to watching videos of families throughout the state, you could ask your worker to connect you with a family through your agency who has fostered and adopted teens to speak with you about their experiences and perhaps be a mentor to you. The seventh action step is to provide respite to a youth outside of your desired age range to get firsthand experience on what caring for a teen could be like. And then lastly, we welcome you to identify your own ideas. None of these lists are exhaustive, but are just to give you a starting place. So the next graphic is gaining comfort with sibling groups. And we understand that adopting a sibling group, especially a large sibling group, is a major decision. If you haven't thought about adopting a sibling group until today, we know you're likely not going to leave this training saying, I'm totally ready to adopt a sibling group before. That might even be somewhat inappropriate if you haven't explored how you would actually manage that dynamic. We have worked with many families who we see that probably have the capacity to take on more than one or two, but have underlying fears about what that would look like for them and how that would affect their current family dynamics. These are some initial resources or ideas for those families who perhaps have the capacity, but have those underlying fears to start initially exploring what a family with multiples looks like and how that they could manage that. Some of these action steps I'm not going to go into great detail about as they're highlighted on each of the graphics, those being providing respite opportunities and connecting with a mentor family. The first action step is to examine your space. I've worked with families that perhaps have one open bedroom and from that make the assumption that they could only care for one child. State regulations allow children of the same gender to share bedrooms and for children under 5 to be able to share with opposite genders. You obviously need to consider the dynamics of each case with your worker and your agency's policies to determine if room sharing would be appropriate, but we want you to be aware that it might be an option. We would also encourage you to be creative in considering how you could rearrange aspects of your home to provide space for additional children. I personally have seen families use bunk beds to create additional space within a room, or utilizing a guest room and changing it into an extra bedroom for a youth. I've even seen a family remodel their finished basement to create an actual full legal bedroom within their basement. The second action step is to consider your village. And this is discussed in each section, but I especially want to highlight it here as in managing the different needs of multiple children, having a support network is going to be crucial. I'm going to play a song called A Village, actually. And while you listen to the song, I would encourage you to actually get out a piece of paper and map out your village. Write different formal and informal supports and the areas that they help you and ways that you could foresee them helping you in the future. Specific things that you would feel comfortable asking those people for help with. So I'm going to go ahead and play that song, and I just want you to start thinking about that as you listen. And the lyrics are also right on here for you to follow along.
Like this in my life, I'm pretty confident I won't do it right. I'm trying to be all that you could need. There will be corners of your mind I can't reach. There will be words you won't hear from me. And there will be pain I cannot see. I have to believe, I have to concede. It takes a village. It takes a village. All I am is not all that there is, and it takes a village to raise a kid. I wish that I could do it all, be the one you come to whenever you fall. But I know that you'll need so much more than I could ever give you. There will be corners of your mind I can't reach. There will be words you won't hear from me. And there will be pain that I cannot see. I have to believe, I have to concede. It takes a village. It takes a village. All I am is not all that there is, and it takes a village to raise a kid.
As the song says, it takes a village to raise a kid. The third action step is mentorship, and as I mentioned, I'm not going to go deep into that now. The fourth action step is to connect. If you have birth children already or children in your home, let them choose a friend or friends to see the weekend to see what it feels like to have more people in your home, or invite friends who have big families over for dinner. The fifth action step is to listen. And again, this will be linked to the training so that you can access the link within the graphic where you can listen to a video where youth talk about the importance of remaining with their siblings. You can also, again, go to adoptpakids.org and review sibling groups who are waiting for permanency. The sixth action step, again, is respite. And the seventh is to identify your own idea. The next graphic I'm going to talk about is gaining comfort with neurodiversity. The first action step is to listen directly to the neurodivergent community. We recommend that to learn about the neurodivergent community, that you listen to the voices of those who are neurodivergent. First of all, I want to acknowledge the scope of neurodiversity as discussed earlier in the training. While some of my resources may be more geared towards a specific area of neurodiversity, that doesn't take away from the fact that neurodiversity is so broad. And there are many children waiting in Pennsylvania for permanency who do have autism, so some of my resources are geared more in that direction. In talking with a friend who has a neurodivergent child, she recommended ways to listen to the autistic community specifically. She recommended following content creators through social media sites like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And in finding these content creators, she suggested searching for the hashtag actually autistic to hear from those who are, as it says, actually autistic. Because autism spectrum disorder is a huge spectrum, following many different autistic content creators will help you to have a better understanding of the spectrum as a whole and different perspectives. In preparation for this training, I listened to an autistic content creator named Foster, who started her video by saying, "I speak for the entire neurodivergent community, except for the fact that I completely don't, and I only speak for myself," which I feel like sums that up pretty well. The friend that I communicated with in preparation for this training said that following many autistic content creators helps us to have a better understanding of the full spectrum and not just put all autistic people in a neat little box of who we think that they should be. The second action step is to examine local supports. Along with the train of thought that I just explained, these creators can lead you to additional resources that they actually endorse. Some larger organizations have faced criticism and controversy from the autistic community, so it's important to listen to their voices in regards to the resources that we're seeking out. A helpful way to determine a possible resource could be to look at the leadership board to determine if there's someone who is neurodivergent included in leadership. One resource that I found in my research for this training that's local to the agency I work with in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is Neurodiverse Network, in which the director is a neurodiverse adult. She has an entire list of resources of healthcare providers and resources and organizations that might be helpful for neurodiverse individuals. It could also be helpful to consider your school district and talking to others who have children within the special education department to learn how a neurodiverse student would be supported within your school district. The third action step is community exposure. Another way to gain comfort with neurodiversity is to be around those who are neurodivergent. The resource that I just mentioned, Neurodiverse Network, they have different in-person events in which all brain styles are welcome. So finding a resource like this within your specific community recommended by those who are neurodivergent could lead you to a variety of ways to learn more about the community. There may be community events that are tailored towards the community, like resource fairs, awareness events, sensory-friendly events, etc. The fourth area is mentorship. The fifth area is respite, talking with your worker if they feel that you have had enough training and have the supports to be able to manage handling a kiddo over the weekend, or for even just an afternoon to help another adoptive or foster family have a little bit of a break. The sixth action step is to volunteer, and that may be within some of those community exposure activities that I mentioned above, or perhaps through your faith community if you're part of a faith community, or your school district extracurriculars, etc. And then the last action step is to identify your own idea again. So I want to end this final module by thanking you for your willingness to attend this training and to open your mind up to the reality of the need for safe families for our children who are traditionally harder to find homes for. I know everyone here came to this journey of foster care and adoption for different reasons, and you may be at different places in the journey, whether that be just getting started, or perhaps you're a licensed family waiting for your first placement. With that, there are a multitude of reasons that people decide to foster and adopt. While growing your family may be on that list of reasons, I hope that we can all agree that the top priority in this process is to be able to provide a loving and nurturing home to a child that needs one. Thank you again on behalf of the SWAN affiliates involved in creating this training, including JFS, IHRS, and Families United Network. Thank you.